everybody, welcome to the Brooklyn Fine Art Print Fair Year 2. Woo woo. My name is Ann Shafer, and I'm one of the organizers of the fair. I'm from Baltimore, and I'm with well, I have one partner. There's two of us, Fine Arts Baltimore. Brian Miller and I have helped Luther and his team here organize this fair. So everything you see upstairs, I've had an email in. It's been a long haul. But it's always worth it. I call it my prom. I'm running around like the happiest person on earth when I'm here at the fair. So thank you for joining us today. I am delighted to be here with Clara Lieu, who is Art Prof on Instagram. If you don't follow Art Prof, you absolutely should. She is a rock star. So we're doing a thing.
We are. We're going to talk about the print ecosystem because I think one of the hardest things about being in the ecosystem is that there are many pockets of different people who have different roles, and it's oftentimes really confusing where things overlap, the etiquette, how to get in touch with people. And so we're going to just lay it all out for you. We're going to just tell you where things are. And I think ultimately what we're all looking to do is to find our path within that ecosystem. So Ann and I have three main topics. The first thing is we're going to give you a walkthrough of who's who. The second thing, we're going to talk about events like this one, fairs, conferences, residencies. We'll talk a little bit about academia, and then our favorite topic, networking, at the end. But let's start out with who's who, because I come at this as a studio artist, but also as an educator. I spent many years in academia, not doing that anymore. Now I'm teaching online. But Ann, you come from it from the museum point of view.
That's right. So Clara taught at RISD for many years and has this incredible online art school. I come from it from the museum, and I was a curator for many years at the Baltimore Museum of Art, where I organized their print fair for several years, and before that at the National Gallery. So I come to it from somebody who was buying art for the collection.
Well, let's get started because, okay, there are a lot of artists. How many people in here are practicing artists?
Yeah.
Woo! And I think as artists, sometimes a lot of us feel like we're on the outside looking in. I know when I was a young artist, I wasn't really talking to curators and publishers. I always felt like, oh, there are those people over there. How do I talk to them? And it was really terrifying. It still sort of is. But I think that's where we can foster really exciting relationships, is when you talk to somebody who's in a different part of the ecosystem. Okay, so why don't you explain the role of curators in the ecosystem?
Sure. Well, so curators, and everything depends on what institution you're a curator for. Like, you can be an independent curator, like I am now, and pick up projects of your own choosing, which is great, and hopefully you'll get paid for said projects. Not usually. But if you're with an institution, you know, they all have their own priorities about what collecting looks like or what exhibition programming looks like or any of that. So it may not even be up to you. I mean, you can get assigned a project and never touch your specialty as a curator, which is kind of a crazy thing. And not all institutions encourage the young junior curators to be out at fairs like this looking for work for the collection. So sometimes there's barriers that that the curator is frustrated by, believe me. So it's it's all going to come back around to this networking thing. I always love to tell people curators are just people with cool jobs. We're just people. We have a lot of shit in our brains. I got a slideshow going 24/7. So, but once you're in my slideshow, you're in there.
I will say from the artist's point of view, you guys are a little scary.
Yeah, you're intimidating
and
too.
And you're very intimidating. And the thing to remember, everybody, like you say, is a person. And just because somebody has a big title at a gigantic institution, we so like cats and dogs, and we relate on that same level. So I would say I understand how scary it can be. But once you start talking to people, you're like, oh yeah, I can deal with you. This is just fine. I mean, some people are not that friendly, and that's where you have to, okay, gauge the room and stuff like that. But it really is not as scary as sometimes it comes out to be.
I have to, my small short anecdote is the first artist interview that I did, and I interview people all the time for Platemark, the podcast, which you should all be listening to. My very first interview was with the rather famous artist Jim Dine, thank you. So I can't do two things at once, Clara, I told you. Is the artist Jim Dine, and I was so terrified by him because he has a reputation for being really smart and really, he's tough. I read everything I could get my hands on for 6 months. I finally interviewed the guy, and I dropped with pneumonia the next week. So we get scared too, is my point.
The other thing I want to say is there's a lot of overlap. I have so many artist friends who also take on freelance curatorial projects. And that's the other thing, is a lot of the times in the ecosystem, we are meeting one side of that person. So I might meet you, Ann, and say, okay, Ann, you're a curator. But then I don't know, oh, you also organize events like this. So you'll find that a lot of people in the ecosystem don't just do one thing. They do multiple things. And that's what I really try to get people to see, is the whole person. Some of you guys may know me as an educator. Some of you may interact with me as a studio artist. And that's where I think it gets really fun, because you start to realize all these people occupy so many different roles. And you'll find it's not really that formal for that reason. And in the end, it's just this big mix of people, and we do all these different things. So the other person role that I want to introduce is the idea of the master printer. What is that like?
Well, a master printer is somebody who knows what they're doing in the shop, basically. I mean, there's no sort of certificate you get to call yourself the master printer. It's kind of a strange thing, and I would love to debate it on the pod at some point if anyone's up for it. But basically it means you're a person in a shop who is able to accomplish an edition with an artist. So, and this comes in every form. You can approach a shop and there could be 5 master printers, or it could be a single master printer in their studio. They could offer to you to split the edition. They could, there's so many ways to do it, but that's the person who's gonna help you make the work.
The other thing I would say too is fit is very important, who you work with. So if you meet a master printer and it's like, that was a little, I didn't like that vibe, there's nobody you have to work with. For example, a lot of people will say, well, I want to show at a gallery. So here are all these galleries, and they're fantastic. And if I go and I meet the gallerist, I'm like, I don't like you that much. It doesn't matter what the gallery is. I would be very uncomfortable working with that gallerist. And so never feel like, oh, I gotta kiss their ass, oh, they're really scary, I gotta behave this way. Like, that is such an uncomfortable way to be a part of this ecosystem. And you will find there are a lot of landmines out there. People talk, actually, which is very helpful. So one of the things that I do when I'm thinking about working with somebody, I will ask around. I'll say, is this person someone I can trust or not? Because that is part of the ecosystem, is understanding how to navigate all those personalities. How do you do that?
Oh, well, you do have to ask around, but you should know that everybody knows each other.
Yep.
So don't badmouth someone, because you're going to say it to somebody and it's going to get back to whoever it was. So you just, gently.
It's like middle school. You just gotta keep an eye on all of those things. Okay, so then this isn't applicable to everybody necessarily, but also professors. So I did years and years in academia, and something I was talking to someone at the fair earlier is the people who help you. I had a whole generation of professors, people who supported me, who saw me when I was a 19-year-old having a fit about who I was as an artist. And I really think it's part of your responsibility, if you're going to be part of this ecosystem, that You are willing to pass things on. You're willing to help people out. I mean, to a degree, obviously, you don't want to be demanding something from somebody. But I think that's a really important thing, is to realize that there are other people here. If you can help somebody, do it. Because that little thing, it can carry a lot of weight.
And it won't be forgotten.
Okay. And we also have dealers and gallerists. Now that's sort of like a curator in some ways, but it's also completely different.
Yeah, it's still a little opaque for me, and I've been in the business a long time. I think it all, in the way that Clara said, you have to find someone that you want to work with. It's the same with the gallerists and the dealers. And I think getting in and getting to know them has to happen fairly organically. I'm not sure there's a lot of gallerists out there who are like, yeah, sure, send me your slides, which nobody has slides anymore. Send me your portfolio. I think it's really tough, but I think fairs like this are key, because as you're walking around and you start talking to the people behind the tables, guess what's going to happen? You're going to meet people who can say, oh, I think you should talk to my friend X or whoever. So it's all about connecting and just being out there and making those connections.
You have to show up. Yes, social media is there, and it's really great as a follow-up tool. So typically what I would do is I'd come to a fair like this, I would talk to you, and then usually there's some kind of follow-up. Like I'll send them an Instagram DM, I'll say, hey, it was really nice to meet you, and so you keep that in there. People think social media can do everything, but to me, social media is the add-on. It's a supplement to these in-person relationships. Because on social media, there's just millions of accounts out there. But when I meet somebody in person and they make an impression and then they follow up, that is very meaningful. And that is the thing a lot of people don't do. I could meet you and then there's no follow-up and then that's it. But once you have a follow-up or an email saying, so nice to meet you, I'm in their inbox. That's the main thing, is you got to get into that inbox. And nobody gets mad at you for doing that. It's totally fine and harmless. I mean, you don't want to go in and ask them to look at your portfolio or things like that. But I don't think a lot of people realize that that does not piss people off. And if it does, you're a jerk. So always remember that that is okay.
It's like a thank you note after the holidays. You should really just thank people for helping you or giving you a gift. It's the same thing.
So let's talk about events, because there are so many different ways to meet these people. And I think what's really important is that you go to different kinds of events. So for example, yesterday I was up at the IFPDA fair at the Park Avenue Armory. It's a different crowd. And I'm walking around going, oh, I could buy a Dürer print. Look, there's a Degas monotype. It could go into my living room if I was a millionaire. So how would you recommend how to interact at these events? Because some of them, it's like there's a certain etiquette that I think is different depending on which event you go to.
Well, yeah, the two fairs feel different, for sure. The number one rule of going into a fair is don't interrupt the deal. If you're a young artist and you just want to strike up a relationship by making contact, and then they're trying to sell something, come back.
That's evil.
It's bad.
They will hate you forever.
Exactly. It's not a good first impression. But I think print people in particular, like I don't think this holds true in Basel, at the Basel Fair, but you'll have to, I've never been. True confessions. But printmakers love to talk about what they do, and they love to share, and they love to help you think through your next project. I think it's just a matter, again, of being open and sticking your hand out and saying, God, I really love what you're doing. Tell me about that. And just break the ice that way.
I think etiquette is extremely important, because typically what I see from the artist end is in our head, we're going, oh, I really want to show this gallerist my work. How does that happen? And this happens to me all the time. I had somebody once, they came up to me at a lecture and they just did this. They had a business card and they just went, And I was like, what am I going to do with that? You didn't even say hello. I've also had people just be like, here's my business card. I'm like, did I ask for that? And I'm sorry, it goes right into the recycle bin. I know that's really harsh, but if I really want to stay in touch with somebody, I will ask you. I'll say, Ann, can you send me your business card? So I think the issue with a lot of these relationships, people are asking for things right away. And that is a really bad first impression. I have friends who I know very well, but I would never ask them, could you please introduce me to your dealer? Because it's like really uncomfortable. Because sometimes you know, oh, that person's not a fit for that, and then it's like really awkward. And so a lot of artists will say, well, when do I ask a gallerist or a dealer to look at my work? And I say, the best scenario is when they ask you. And then you don't have to worry about being, please, I want to show in your gallery. You don't want to do that. And so that's the thing, is it's not really an ask as much as it is you make friends. That's all it is. You ask yourself, would I like to go out for a cup of coffee with that person? And if the answer is, oh my God, no, that would be hell, that's very bad. Like, Ann, I could totally go out with you, have a cup of coffee, and we'd have a great time. That
It would
is
never end, Clara.
I know. It would go on for hours and hours. But that's really important, is to gauge what's right or wrong. And usually if you're asking somebody to do something for you, that's usually not the way to go, unless it's like a really close friend and you really understand each other. It's the asking that I think gets uncomfortable sometimes.
I agree with that. When you send an email to a curator / dealer / whoever person, put a good image right up front, because otherwise I'll click it open, and if I have to slog through some text and find a link somewhere, I'm done. Like it goes in. I'm sorry, it goes in the trash. But if you catch my eye with a really bold image of your making, I'll read it, the text, and then I'll go further and I'll go look at your Instagram, and I'll get intrigued. So that's just a simple, really simple tactic.
Let's talk about conferences. How many people here have been to a nerdy printmaking conference? Okay, you guys have to put that on your bucket list, because guess what? Fairs like this are awesome, but the printmaking conferences have these materials fairs where it's just a giant room of printmaking supplies, and my brain just explodes. And maybe don't bring your credit card or something like that, but I find that amazing, because actually a lot of the printmaking suppliers I order from, it's online. So I will never get to speak to the staff there. And they're another resource that I think a lot of people don't think about right away until you talk to them and you realize, oh my gosh, you know the history of cheesecloth? That's amazing. And so you create this incredible rapport with the people who know the tools, they know the paper. Hiromi Paper, one of my favorite art supply stores, whenever I talk to them, I'm like getting a history lesson. They're telling me about the agriculture, the geography, how papers are made, and that's not something you would get anywhere else. And so that's the other thing. It's not just professors and gallerists and curators. There's a whole support team of all these people with so much knowledge to impart.
And also including, and not limited to, the people who fix and maintain presses are an incredible resource. Multiple of them are here. Perry Timeson's wandering around today. He's like the East Coast god. And Mike and Tom Stark are up in the mezzanine level. They've got some presses there. They're also giving a press away. You can register to enter this drawing for a tabletop press that is a gift from them. So think about that also on your way out.
And they know some pretty awesome people. For example, I just saw, Luther Davis, who is another critical player here with the fair, so he runs the silk screening shop here at Powerhouse Arts. And so he actually found me on Instagram, invited me to come here, and I did all these videos with him. And then I'm looking on Instagram, and I'm like, you printed an Amy Sherrill print? He's like, yes, we had 70 colors, and we put 25 into the face. And I'm like, oh my God, can I like come and hang out with you until she comes into the door? And so that's the other thing is art suppliers, they know so many people. And it's amazing, the network. So always see every person you meet, literally anybody at any of these events is important in some way. Because I know in terms of the people I talk to, I think, okay, well, that person's a gallerist. They could give me a show. So a lot of people think, okay, I just got to talk to them. It's like, no, actually, for galleries, some of your most important advocates are other artists. And people usually think, oh, they're competition for me, and I should not do that. It's like, no, some of the best recommendations are through that. And that's a mistake I think a lot of people make is they think, oh, you're worth talking to, you're not worth, and it's like, no, every person you meet in this ecosystem can help you.
I've interviewed a bunch of printers and publishers on Platemark, and I always ask them, or try to remember to ask them, how does an artist work with you? How do you get somebody in your shop and publish their work? And most of them are, they're open to you unsolicitedly sending something in. But most of them tell these long stories about how, well, we were working with True, and so True said, well, you really should go see that show by Mark. It's down in Chelsea this week. You should go see, and those are the connecting points. It's all recommended. You should look at this person's work, do it, and that's how these things get made.
And really, when it comes down to it, you're like, oh, that was it? That's all I had to do? I just showed up and said hello, and now all of a sudden you remember me? It's not, well, I don't want to say it's not difficult, because it is. It's very hard to know who to talk to and why, and every single person is different. However, some of the best professional opportunities I've had is because somebody's like, oh yeah, Clara, give me that thing. I'm like, okay, I guess so, sure. And it really can be that straightforward. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, well, actually, I should mention conferences in addition to the materials fair. Here's something that happened to me at Southern Graphics Council conference. So I was a graduate student, and the conference was at Rutgers. And so one of my professors, Andrew Raftery, who teaches at RISD, he said to me, oh, you should go this year. And I had no idea what that was. I was like, okay, I guess I'll go. And so I went, and they had this open portfolio session. So basically, they just put out all these tables, people bring their stuff, you just lay it out, and you talk to people. It's super chill. And guess what? I got my first college teaching position because I stuck my prints out at a table. So Michael David, who teaches at Lesley University now, he came by, and he was like, oh my God, I love this. I'm like, okay, good, what do I do now? Oh my God, I'm so nervous. And he's like, oh, send me your stuff. I was like, okay. And he didn't hire me immediately, but I did have my first college teaching position 1 year later because I followed up. I cannot tell you guys how many people I'll say, send me your stuff, and I never see it. And I used to run the gallery at Wellesley College, and I had artists who I was like, oh my God, who is that person? Like, I knew the art, but they never followed up, and I couldn't hire them for a certain thing. And so that's why you gotta get into those emails and tell people who you are.
I have a follow-up on that. So the show that's in this room that's surrounding you is a juried exhibition that's celebrating Manhattan Graphic Center's 40th, I think, anniversary. And I was the juror, along with Dia Veach, who was the VP of Curatorial Affairs at the time. She's moved on to be the art czar of New York City under Mayor Mamdani. I never say his name right, Mamdani. And so anyway, when you judge these things and the images are being, presented to you online, you're sort of clicking through whatever, they remove the name, you don't see the names. So you're trying to do it. I mean, I recognize some people's work. I'm like, oh, yes, I know that person. But it's mostly blind. So now I've chosen all these things, and I love them all, and I have no idea who the artists are. So if you're an artist that's in this show, send me an email and say, thank you for putting me in your show. By the way, this is the work it was. Because, I have to connect the name. It would be really helpful. I have no idea who you all are. And this is just a byproduct of how the process works.
it's always okay. Go to the opening reception, and if I was in the show, I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. I'm so thankful that you chose my piece, and then do the follow-up, because some people will send the email, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. Because when I get a cold call email, for some reason, they're always really long. It's always like 5 paragraphs. I'm like, come on, come on. And I'm sorry to say, but when you get that many emails, it's just like, you can't get to all of them. But when you meet somebody in person, that really sticks. So the other thing that's very important about conferences, helps you stay up to date, especially in a field like printmaking. There's so much innovation. For example, I just found out they have an electric etching press. And I didn't know that existed. And so I was at this print shop in Massachusetts, and I was like, what is this? They're like, yeah, you just push this button. I'm like, oh, wow, oh my gosh, I really, really want one. So that's the type of thing. If I hadn't gone to that print shop, if I hadn't gone to see the Mocolito lithography demo that happened at SGC, I would never know that that happened. So these demonstrations are fantastic. They're really easy to talk to people and say, what kind of gum arabic did you use? Is it 0.01 or 0.025? That's such an easy conversation to have. I think what is not easy, and please, please look at my portfolio and put me in that show, but any interaction matters. Even if it's just, what kind of ink is that? Did you add body gum? That type of thing really gets you in. Let's talk about residencies. What is a residency, Anne?
Well, like everything, they take many forms. But basically, it's a manner in which you can go to a place and work with some people and do some stuff. I mean, there are a lot of varieties of them, and there's a lot to choose from. Some of them, you can manage to get them to pay you to come, and some you have to pay to go do. But it's just another way to connect with more people. Projects come out of these things, things happen.
The thing I will say about residencies, though, you have to really do your research. Of course, we all want the Rome Prize and the fully funded residencies that fly you out to do things. But the thing is, I feel like amongst all the programs that are out there, it's the most diverse, confusing area. Because if I think about MFA programs, yes, they're all very different. But it's like you need the portfolio. You need the letters of recommendation. There's sort of like guidelines for how that looks. Some of the residency applications, I read them, I'm like, why don't I just book my own hotel and trip and do everything on my own? Like some of them are like, what is this, like some luxury resort residency? So that's fine, I'm not judging anybody for doing that, but a lot of us can't afford to do something like that. And so one thing that's really good, if you can maybe contact an artist who's been there before, again, ask around. Because people will say things like, oh my God, that place was fantastic. The people were so on top of it. And there's other residencies where people are like, oh my God, don't go. It was such a nightmare. The coordinator was this, this, and this. And so that's a similar thing to asking around. Like I'll say to people before I go to a conference, I'll say, well, what was the outcome? Did you get something from going to that conference that really was useful? And people will say to me, oh my gosh, yes, I met all these people. Other conferences, it's like, oh, I wish I had stayed home. And so that's another reason you need the ecosystem, because these conferences are expensive. Booking the flight and going there, you want to know in advance if that's going to be a good experience. Now, the other thing about residencies is that some of them are media specific. So, for example, if I want to learn paper making, I might go to a residency where they have me make my own work. Maybe I take some workshops. Other places, you have a project. Maybe you do a community presentation afterwards. So you've got to read the fine print when you guys look for residencies.
Well, and some of them just give you a room to work in, and that's it.
An empty room.
An empty, yeah, cold, like an empty cold room.
But I think an important thing to consider is that What everybody needs is a mix of all of these experiences. There is not one pocket of the ecosystem that will serve you. And sometimes people think, okay, well, if you're a curator of Latin American art, and I say, well, I'm not a Latin American artist, that's not a good fit for me, you probably know so many other curators who you could refer me to. And that's why it's not the people who can directly give you something who can be extremely helpful. Because you know what? We all know each other. And that's just always there.
And the print curators all know each other. They're in the museum curator situation, the painting people don't have their own group, and the drawing people don't have their own group, and the sculpture people don't, but the print people do. And we all know each other, and I can say to you, oh, you should go work with Kristen in Cincinnati, or whoever, and I can connect you. Because the print people know, we all know, well, we're the underdogs, right? Everyone knows printmaking is the underdog, and everybody knows that we need to do whatever we can to support each other. So you're in the best niche, but also sometimes the one that needs the most sunlight.
Look for the people who want to see you succeed. Because you know what? The world is not always like that. And a lot of this is trying to avoid people who you know just are not going to help you. And I know sometimes I've bothered some of my professors, but after a while you start to realize, oh, we're sort of all in the same boat. And if I can help somebody, that's great. I have students who have helped me. For example, I was trying to get more up-to-date information about the New York City gallery world. And you know what's awesome about being a professor is when your students are like 30, they become rock stars in the world. And I'm like, okay, hook me up. And they're like, yeah, awesome. And I had no idea that was a perk of being a professor. But that's the other thing. It's like I've got students who are helping me now, who are teaching me how to do things. And so the age demographic thing, I also think sometimes it's like easier to talk to people who are the same age. But oh my gosh, I always try to hang out with artists who are so much older than me. Because first of all, they're smarter. And also, they know the lay of the land. You've got to talk to people who are older than you. Also, people who are younger, yeah, they're useful. But anyway, knowing people who have been around the block many times, it's just very comforting. When I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? It's the apocalypse. My career's over. And they're like, it's fine, Clara, just do this. I'm like, okay, thank you. So we need these like hotlines who bail us out when we get in these really difficult
That's a great idea.
situations. Well, because I had some situations in academia where things happened to me, and I was very upset about it. And you start thinking in your head, this must be because it's me. I must be a terrible person. This is my fault. And then I'll call somebody and they'll say, no, 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 you were bullied. That was not appropriate. And I'm like, okay, it's not me. I'm not a terrible person. And so I think a lot of the system is getting that validation.
Validation is very important. I like it. Yeah, it's regarding the older people, there's a certain age one hits, and when one leaves an institution like I did in 2017, you become invisible. It's really bizarre and really disconcerting and heartbreaking. And the best thing about the printmaking ecosystem is that there is room for all kinds of people in it, and some of us finally got our in a group and made something happen. So I would like to share with you that both of us are the products of no longer being with institutions, institutionally backed.
They didn't like us.
Guess why? Because we were opinionated and too good at what we did. Yeah, but
Maybe for you.
Clara, oh my God. So, but the best news is that there's a big wide world out there, and honestly, with the internet, which has lots of bad things about it, it gave us both the ability to parlay what we knew was really important experience and knowledge into something that was useful for the ecosystem.
That's the other thing, is the ecosystem has different structures. So for example, people will say to me, well, I have to get an MFA. And I'll say, are you sure about that? And they'll talk to me about what they want to do. And I'm like, you don't need an MFA, you need a residency. That is going to be a much better fit for what it is you want to do. So for example, when I was a graduate student, I knew I wanted to teach college. That's why I went and got my MFA. So I started teaching as an adjunct, and I stayed an adjunct forever and ever. I don't know why I kept doing that to myself for so long, but the way academia is structured, I was like, okay, I need to get a full-time tenure-track position. I need to win grants. I need to do residencies. I need to show at all these fancy places. And let me tell you, it's really scary when you've been in that world for a whole decade and you realize, I don't have any of those things. I was applying every year for full-time positions. I never made it past the first round. And that really does a number on you, where you start to think, gosh, am I really this bad? If I could only be a better artist and a better educator, wouldn't I get it? And there's just a lot of biases that are in that structure. And so I thought to myself, okay, the first thought was, God, I am a total loser. I'm a failure. I don't have any of these things. And so I got out. I left academia, and it was heartbreaking for me to leave academia because I loved students. I loved the hustle and bustle of campus. But I thought to myself, after 16 years as an adjunct, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so we moved to Salt Lake City. Everybody thinks I live here, though, because apparently I post. I know.
You're here a lot.
I almost live here. But then I was able to carve my own path, and I didn't have to wait 6 months to get something approved by 18 faculty committees. And so now, when I want to do something, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And then the next day, it's on the website. And that's a certain degree of agency that I never had in academia. And same thing for you with the podcast.
It is true. Yeah, the podcast came out of despair.
Everything good does, right?
I think you might be right. Yeah, I left the BMA under not my own steam in 2017, and I flipped it around after being really sad and crying for 3 years.
That's it.
Well, I can still conjure a tear or two, believe me. But I was good at my job, and I loved it, and I planned to retire from there. So when the new guy came and he fired everybody, we were all just on a it was awful. Anyway, then the pandemic started, and it was that idea of, we might all die from this thing, because at the beginning, nobody knew what the hell was happening. And I thought, I've got shit to say. So I started writing, and it became a blog that's sitting on my AnnShafer.com. But they were they were short, little musings about works that I had acquired for the museum. And they're like, you come to think of these things as your babies. You've gone out, you've found them, you figured out why they're really important for the museum's collection, and you use them in the classroom every time you can. And so I just started writing about them. And then finally that parlayed into the podcast. And I don't make diddly from the podcast, but it's a labor of love. But I think it's so satisfying, soul satisfying for me, but I think it's good for the system, the ecosystem. I think if it lets you walk up to one of these dealers and say, oh, I heard you on Platemark, and feel comfortable enough to put your hand out and say, Sue, I would love to talk to you about your work, blah, 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 blah. I have done my job. It's all about breaking down the barriers that are they're so artificial. We're all people. And we all love what we do, and we love art, and we love printmaking, and I just want to dissolve all of those feelings of I'm not good enough or whatever.
And let me tell you, it is hard to not follow those structures, because I kept telling myself I'm not good enough, and I actually tried to hide that I was on YouTube from my colleagues in academia. Well, because I knew they were going to dump on me and tell me I'm an idiot and I'm not in a journal that 3 people on the planet will see at an obscure conference. And that was something that made me very nervous, because I came from the world of academia. And all of a sudden, I'm teaching online before the pandemic, and everybody thought I was a weirdo. And let me say, it kind of felt good when they all hired me later to train their faculty in online learning. But I think what Ann says about barriers and accessibility, that's always been very important to me, that people on the planet deserve to have this content given to them without paying, what, $90,000 a year? That's how much a lot of higher education costs now. And the accessibility is a big part of the technology that's available today. I'll be on a voice call. There's somebody from Nigeria, the Netherlands, Australia, and we're all on a voice call together. And so that's another part of it, is that I think it's not the same world, because the gatekeeping, there's still plenty of gatekeeping, like, don't get me wrong. But I think because people like you and I, we've been able to say, screw you guys, we're just gonna go do our thing. And it's hard. I mean, there's so many days I got up and I'm like, why am I doing this? But it's that agency, the creativity, that we don't need anybody's permission to go and do something and say what we want to say.
Well, and also, I truly believe creativity is the very best part of being human. Like, it's the thing that really sets us apart from the rest of the world, right? And if we're not interested in getting that opportunity to have that flourish, I think we're making a grave mistake. And also, human connection is why we're all here. Like, if you're not connecting with people, and artists do it better than anyone through their art, like, it's the best part of us.
Plus, you know something else? Everybody's nervous to meet new people. I find it scary, but then I say, you know what? I'm here at the print fair, and if I don't talk to anybody, that is on me, because people aren't going to come to you and be like, oh, who are you? Tell me about you. You have to go to them. And it's not so hard to go. Actually, this is my little secret. So anytime I want to talk to somebody and I'm nervous about it, I just ask them what the media is. And I say, is this a woodcut? And they'll go, well, no, actually, it's a Sheena plywood surface, which they mine from the, Mongolian mountains or something like that. And then I don't have to say anything. Then they can launch into something. I've done that at galleries, where I'm like, how did you guys mount this? Well, the installer did this, this, and this. So the main thing, when you try to meet somebody, you got to put the ball in their court, because guess what? We all like to talk about ourselves. If I asked you, so Ann, how did you arrive at the Brooklyn Print Fair? You would probably have a 5-hour lecture prepared. But if I'm like, so Ann, what do you say? Like, if I just ask you about you, it is so much easier.
People do like to talk about themselves. It is true. You and I, too, we're guilty.
Exactly. But also, you know what? You're going to meet some people that make you really uncomfortable. Like, I had this terrible moment. I think it was at Art Basel, where this person did this. So I was like, okay, talking to them, I was like, oh, hey, how are you? And this person just did this. They just, like, turned around. And the thing is, nobody else was around. It was just us. You know how sometimes there's like a group of people, and you're like, oh yeah, you're mingling. No, this person just went. So every single awkward moment you can imagine, that's everybody. Nobody gets around and doesn't have an awkward moment. And that's what comes down to it, is that we're just people. And if you mess up, everybody's nervous. Like, people come up to me, like I had somebody come to me yesterday. They're like, oh my God, Clara. I'm like, yeah, cool. I love it when people come up to me and say that. I'm not going to go, oh my God, that person was so nervous. What an asshole. I don't think that way. I think, awesome. That was really nice of them to come up to me. I mean, have you ever had somebody approach you and gone, oh, I don't want to talk to you?
Only exhibitors? No, I'm just kidding. No, I like to be seen, and I like to be appreciated for all the hard work that you and I put into the ecosystem, and bring it on.
Okay, so we have a few minutes to do some Q&A.
Yeah,
Jackie, did you want to take one of the mics? So start thinking about your deep philosophical thesis that you prepared for this Q&A.
Thank you, thank you. Can I get a round of applause first? Oh my goodness. Incredible ladies.
So one role in the ecosystem that you did not mention, collectors.
What do you want to know about them?
Whatever you can tell me.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Well, it's different from a curator point of view
Sure.
than as an artist or educator.
Yes, there are. Oh, that's a tough one. Let's have coffee later, shall we? Collectors are a tough bunch. I mean, I'm going to buy something here. Am I a collector, or are we talking about people who are going to plunk down, $100,000 for an Amy Sherald painting, right? Like, there's a whole different range of things, and there are collectors who want to buy to say they have the thing. I believe, and I coach all of my patrons at the museum always. Buy something because you love it. Don't buy it because you think you can resell it next year for more, right? So I'm a big advocate of, don't even worry who the artist, like if you love that image, who cares what, like, it's great that it's that person, but I'm less invested in the blue chip name. If it's an image that I need to live with, and I have to have it, that's my philosophy of collecting. But I'm not everybody, right? So that was not helpful. Sorry.
I think collectors are very difficult to access because a lot of them are extremely private for good reason, and a lot of them fly under the radar. I would say probably the best entry point into a collector is, from the artist's point of view, through a gallery, because they're not people who are walking around going, I'm a collector. Like, if anything, it's the opposite. Like, there are collectors who don't even show up. Like, I talked to a collector, and I was going down to Miami, and I talked to her beforehand. She's like, oh, yeah, we already bought our stuff. So a lot of them just buy online. Like, they just don't even show up to some of these things. And some of them do, but they're not people who like to advertise who they are or to make themselves available for lots of questions and stuff like that. I got to know some collectors through other people, and it also depends because there are some collectors who are very community-oriented. Like, they support other artists. They have artists over and talk to them and create relationships with the artists. The collectors that I know really care about that. They're deeply invested in an artist's career. Some collectors are not like that. And people will say to me, well, how do they decide what to buy? And it's like, if you read enough articles, like if you go to Larry's list, people are like, I just love it. And I'm sure there's a million other reasons why, but it's like they have to have some connection. We can't predict it. You can't try to appeal to, it's like, well, Ann, do you like this tuna sandwich? It's like, maybe you hate tuna, and that's fine. But that's the thing. It's not about the quality of the work. It's just, do they connect? And that's a big mistake artists make. They say, well, it must be my work. I'm like, no, you are a cat, and you're wondering, why did I not win Best in Show at the Westminster? It's like, you're a cat, okay? You're not going to do well at the dog show. And that's what people don't realize. It's rarely about you. It's usually just you met the wrong person.
The image has to hit you in the gut for me to buy it. Like, there's something upstairs with Karen Kuntz, and I'm like, And I've slept on it. I'm not sure I'm going to pull the trigger, but that image is floating around in my brain, and if I wake up tomorrow morning and I'm still thinking about it, I'll probably pull the trigger. But it's an investment, obviously, right? It's money. There has to be something of a tug. It has to tug at you, and my husband has to agree, of course. So there's a problem there.
I was thinking specifically, you were saying how the printmaking ecosystem is a small world and everyone knows everyone. And so I was thinking that maybe there's like a small world of collectors who are just really gung-ho prints.
Well, that's an issue. Okay. So at the Baltimore Museum of Art, and this happens in some museums, but not all, they have a friends group for the print drawing, and photograph department. Generally, those people are all collectors, and they're collecting assiduously and have for many years, mainly because the museum has done a ton of programming and has really trained their eyes and all that stuff. So it takes a lot of work. But they have this base of collectors. So there are pockets like that, like the Print Club of Rochester, or you have it, whatever. But it's true, the collectors are very private. I think print people are more open because nobody's spending $1 million on something. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But you should join the Print Club of New York or one of the groups here and get to know. That's a really good way to get to know the collectors of prints, is to join one of these groups. If you're a New Yorker or wherever you live, find the group of enthusiasts and join them.
Another question.
Yes.
Right here.
I was wondering if there was like a moment or conversation or event that each of you went to where you realized that you were like a part of the printmaking ecosystem, not like outside of it, but now like in it.
I think when you know the person's nickname, that's when you feel, all right, I'm not totally on the outside.
In. I mean, you can call yourself in. If you're making prints,
You
you're
guys
in.
are here. You're in the
You're
ecosystem
in.
right
If you have
now.
come to the Brooklyn Fine Art Print Fair, you are in. Yeah, I don't know. There are lots of ways to participate. I mean, looking at Clara's hard work in our website and the incredible offerings that she does. Clara's is not just classes. She offers one-on-one consulting on MFA portfolio, applications, artist statements, you name it. Like, she's a coach, a really good coach. So if you have need of services like that, check out her stuff. Yeah.
QR code for all of us.
QR code right there. I'm producing content that I'm hoping is helping you connect with people or learn about techniques or histories or whatever it is. It's a different kind of help, but I think there's so many elements to it. It's all worthwhile.
Also, once you've been to maybe 3 fairs, you realize, oh, it's like the same 10 people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'll go to Wisconsin, it's like, oh, hey, Carolyn, yeah. Ann. It's like you'll start to realize just how small that world is. But again, you've got to show up. Like, when I was a young artist, I don't know why, but I was really scared to go to opening receptions. And I remember I was in some show. I didn't go to the opening because I was scared. I just didn't know what to do with myself. And I should have just forced myself to go because I could have met other artists. I could have talked to the curator. And so a lot of the reasons we don't do things is because we think, I don't belong there. If you show up, you belong there. You have every right to be there. And so don't tell yourself, well, I'm going to this print fair, I don't know a single person, I shouldn't go. It's like, no, that's exactly why you should go, is so you can go and meet those people.
The first time I went to the IFPDA print fair in 2005 maybe, I was wandering around and I didn't know anybody, and my colleague curator was not interested in being a team and going around together. She was covering old master stuff and I was doing more contemporary stuff. And so I was wandering around by myself feeling like an idiot, and I didn't know anybody yet, right? So finally, at the end of the day, I went into a booth, graphic studio, lovely people, the Christens, and one of the Christians was there, and I said, would you mind if I sit down? My feet are killing me. And I sat down, and she was not trying to make a deal, so she had time. She sat down too, and we just started chatting. And all of a sudden, over her shoulder, I saw a print by Trisha Brown, which was stunning. Well, actually, it was a set of 3, and I said, what is that? And we ended up acquiring it for the museum. But after that, I realized very quickly that when I went to the fair, I could always go to the Christens booth, probably get a shot of scotch if I wanted it, because they had something under the table. But it kind of became home. Like, when I needed just to sort of touch base with an actual person, I would go in and say hi to the Christens. And so once you start learning who the people are and you become friendly with them, it makes the entire situation more pleasant, because you're then connecting with friends and looking at great art.
I also want to note that this is the question asker's second time at the BK Print Fair, right? Yeah. Yes, she actually knew that the elevator doors opened at 12:30 for the demos, and so a reminder, if you want entry into the demos, make sure to arrive early. Other questions?
Back there.
Hi, I'm a relatively new artist, and I have a question about when it's proper to start showing your work to people, because I always feel like if I show it too early, maybe it will like change their mind about like how good I can be. Or
What are you talking about? It's never too early.
So my
Unless
question,
you're not happy with the work, you know, like once you feel comfortable with it, I want to see it. Absolutely.
Okay.
well, my question for you is, who are you showing the work to? Because depending on who it is, it's very different communication. Because you know something, artists ask me all the time, how do I talk to gallerists? And I emailed so many of them. How come nobody's replying? Because it's an email. Like if I get a cold call email that has no connection, like if somebody says, Ann Shafer gave me your name, I go, oh, okay, I should look at this, okay? But if it's a cold email, I get so many. I'm sorry, I just can't reply. And so sometimes the important thing is the avenue. So I talked to one of my friends, she's worked in PR with big museums and all these places. And she said to me, I have seen $1 million deals happen in an Instagram DM. And so you have to understand the etiquette. Because some artists will say to me, well, that's weird. Isn't it over email? Isn't that, I'm like, no, they're all on Instagram. So many contacts I make are over Instagram DM. I have gallerists, I've never emailed them. It's all on Instagram. So you have to figure out how to talk to them. Now for email, that's usually later on because the way to network is a casual interaction. I got an art director to follow me because I commented on his dog photo. And I said, he looks like he could belong in a Velázquez painting. Boom, followed me. But you know, it's because it was specific. People love their pets. They want to hear all about that. And it was an art history reference, so it wasn't just your dog is cute. They went, oh, this person knows about dogs and Velázquez paintings. So a lot of it's about the specificity. A lot of people will say, well, why didn't I get that? I'm like, because when you have a lot of followers and people say, nice, cute, I just go over it. But when somebody says, and I think the sumptuousness of the red in the compositional area of this encaustic painting is just stunning. Like, you remember that type of thing. So it's more effort to do that, but people remember those kinds of interactions.
And Clara gets how to maneuver through the interwebs.
I've got my tricks.
She's a master.
All right, I think I want to push it because I'm that kind of gal. I'm going to accept one more question, but we're going to keep it tight. Okay, I'm going to hustle.
We don't lack words up here.
Got things to say.
First of all, hi, Mom.
Sweetheart,
This is
hi.
your non-industry plant question. How do we as consumers and not artists or like collectors, because I don't have any money, what's the best way for us, besides the obvious, to support the ecosystem, the artists, the shops? All
You're
of those
saying
things?
outside of purchasing work?
Yes,
Great question, Wyatt.
because I have some money, but not enough money to buy the things I want to buy.
You'll get there.
If you are on social media, share their work. That goes a pretty long way. And don't just repost. If you share an artist on your Instagram story, say something like, Ann does a great job talking about woodcuts. She's the master, she knows that stuff. Because people share things all the time on social media, but they don't write why they're sharing. So my artist friends...
time. It takes time.
Everything takes time. But that's what people remember. So if any of you guys see me on Instagram, most of the time, I will tell you why I'm sharing something. I won't just share it because I think the reason you follow somebody is because you value their point of view. So Anne could just share one of my posts, but it's sort of meaningless. And if she says, I met Clara at the Brooklyn Print Fair, this, and this. So basically, anything you want to accomplish takes time and attention, and it's a lot of work. But the people you impact always remember that. They will remember that you shared that you passed their name onto somebody else. It's extremely important. And so no little thing goes unseen. Of course, as an artist, like, yeah, it's nice if you sell, but if you just go up to an artist and you say, I appreciate you and what you do, that goes a long way. So I love that you asked that question because there's a lot you can do that is low effort in that sense.
We appreciate all of you artists, all of you. Thank you for making things and contributing to the ecosystem that we all love and cherish.
You would have nothing without us.
That's a great point. It all starts with you. You are the nexus. I don't have a job unless you're making work, right? Like, this is all because you guys are creating stuff. So don't ever forget that. You are the centerpiece.
Lovely. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.